Okay, everyone, welcome to the call today. It's great to have you all on. I hope you all had an opportunity to read the newsletter, to read it this week, because I'm going to cover the same topics that I put in the newsletter this week. And this is just something that, as I'm learning through this journey, through this process, that I just thought I would love to share some of my thoughts on these things, these principles. I have 6 principles to discuss, and I would love to get your feedback and your experience as well on some of these things, um, on how we can be more successful in our Nikken businesses. And the first thing that I want to discuss is being professional. So often we can get caught up in the just regular day-to-day activities that, well, and I speak for myself, that I can get a little bit too familiar with the business, and when I'm talking to people, and I can almost make it come across as something that's more of a what can I say, a hobby rather than a business that I'm really invested in. And so being professional is something that I'm working on, and making sure that I'm there when I say I'm going to be there, I'm turning up on time, I'm dressing appropriately. Ben was telling me last night that there was a call in Nikken, and I'm sure you're familiar with it. He said of someone on Zoom who once didn't realize their camera was on and they got into the shower. I don't know if anyone remembers that. It was in Mexico, and their camera recorded the entire thing. Well, in the Zoom, I mean, you'd be so mortified, but obviously being professionals, making sure that your background is good, that you know what you're filming, you know what you're recording, and that people aren't going to be distracted by all the things that are going on around you, and they can actually focus on what you're speaking about, because they're invested in you, not in what's going on around it. Time management, planning. This is another thing I think is really important in treating it as a business rather than a hobby or just something that you do a little bit of. We have to make goals, we have to set plans, and make sure that our time is fully utilized so that we get the most back from our investment of our time. I guess one of the experiences that I think of, what really worked for me when we were building our Nikken businesses, when we did our San Diego event, we made sure that we had a proper landing page, the website was up and running, tickets were available to be bought when we said they were going to be bought, and just being consistent with our messages that we're sharing with people. We wanted to have a really professional event and make sure that people understood that we were serious about our Nikken business and what it meant to us. And also, I guess in that professional setting is really important to bring other people in. We don't do this by ourselves. We collaborate with others, and we make sure that we're using their strengths as well to strengthen our own businesses. We are the events that we've always done, we've always collaborated with the local leaders who have just been such an incredible help, and they know all the things that we don't about the area. And yeah, so being professional is really important. And then the second thing is to systemize our activity, making sure that the things that we're doing are being able to be duplicated. And so when you're looking at your own businesses and how to systemize and duplicate your businesses, I would love to get your feedback, because this is something that I'm still learning about, and I love to get other people's feedback on what they do in order to utilize. Mike is always talking about the rhythm of the business and making sure that it has that natural beat and the rhythm that it's moving on. How do we leverage that rhythm of the business to systemize our activities? What are some of the things that you do in order to support and strengthen your businesses through the systems? I would love to get your feedback on that.
This is Pam Barnes. Every day there is a text to our WhatsApp group, or it might be about a Zoom coming up or a special coming up, or pictures. There's a lot of collagen pictures out, or an email. And I have different groups that I email. Every day I touch my business in some way, always making at least one phone call to whomever I feel needs that phone call that day. So I just keep at it. I mean, it's not work. It's just the thoughts cross my mind, the people cross my mind, and I write it down. Quite frequently, I get up in the morning and I'm writing like crazy. And Ron will say, "What in the world are you doing?"
All those
So
ideas are coming to you then.
yes, yes, very strong.
I love that. Thanks, Pam. Gloria?
Yeah, I think just staying true to my day timer. If I put it in there, it's going to happen. And like Pam, if a name comes to my mind, it's on the list. Today it was to reach out to some auto ships that came through and thank them again for their business, and again ask for that referral. If they're happy with their product, ask who else can I introduce and give them this gift. And so if you ask me to call you in 6 months, I'm going to be flipping the pages, and it's going to be written down, and then that relieves some stress for me because I don't have to try to remember it. I know it's going to be there and it's going to get taken care of.
Yeah. I love that. And I need to do that too. I mean, with such a busy household, I thrive on calendar systems and making sure that everything's written down, because I am unlikely to remember most things. But yeah, I need that in my life. I need to write everything down and make sure I have a little prompt things that I need to follow up with. But we need to utilize those Niken calls, the call Niken Connect call schedules. We need to get people on there and utilize them, because we have so much wealth of knowledge in this community that we don't need to rely just on ourselves to support the people that we're bringing in. We can use other people's strength and support as well for that call. ABCs, Niken events, and incentives in order to systemize our activities to make sure that we're consistent, we're regular, and we are effective in the things that we're doing. Does anyone else have any other thoughts that they want to share before we move on how you systemize your activity? No? Okay. So the fourth topic within the newsletter that I spoke on this week was igniting our passions. I don't know about you, but does anyone ever feel like you just get into a bit of a slump and it's just day to day? How do we reignite that passion for the business? How do we go back to the beginning of where we started, when we were so passionate about it and we just wanted to share it? How do you all keep that passion alive in your businesses?
Sponsor new people.
Oh,
It's
please
always about that.
share more about that, Sherry. I want to hear more about that. How does that enlighten?
I think it for me, it requires me to go back to kind of looking at what I want to share, I always watch a video to make sure it has the right vibe, it's current before I send things out. So, and I think simply talking to people about what they're excited about, and them, it's the activity that I think is, wakes me up the most. So I will say, going back to the systems and so forth, because I was telling Maggie about this maybe an hour ago, that last night I went back to, and Mary Bowser created this brilliant Excel sheet, but I realized that I need to see things. I'm like old school. I want to write things down. I need to see things. I've got to I'm not sure if I'm either getting a poster board out or a whiteboard out, but something is coming out today to track Team Ambassador, because I need to, I went out and looked at the numbers and what do I need to do, and started that strategy. So for me, it's got to be in front of me. I'm incorporating that, and I'm incorporating what I thought was so brilliant. It was the most brilliant I've ever heard, Richard Brooks. And I've been encouraging my team. We had 2 team calls yesterday morning and last night to go over and ask them to watch that and then commit to, one a day. And so I'm like, okay, then I'm doing the same, that's and kind of need to do that to reach Team Ambassador anyhow. It goes hand in hand. So
I love that. I'm a visual person. I need to have that visual right in front of me. But I loved that. I've heard Richard Blissbrook before, but I loved what he shared at the Seiko Kai. I thought it was so powerful. Yeah, that was a great event, wasn't it? By the way, I just love that so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, Sherry. Anyone else? How do you keep that passion alive? For me, it's hope. I have to hope for good things. You know, hope is a fuel for activity. Like Sherry was just saying, we need to just do the activity. For me, if I don't have the hope or I don't anticipate good things happening, then I can just get a little bit in a slump. I have to hope for the best outcome. Even if that doesn't happen, I need to have the hope going in there that it's a fuel for me to move my activity. It's a bit like a child, I guess. At Christmas time, we need to be excited for what's to come. If we know that we're going to wake up the next day and not get any presents, then we're going to sleep just fine the night before. But we want to be so excited that we can't sleep. We're so excited. And so for me, it's through hope. I keep hope of the best possible outcomes, and I'm okay if that doesn't happen, but it actually moves me forward either way. But how has anyone else ever been in a slump and they just needed to get their mojo back? How did you get that back in your businesses?
I just did a tabletop and it was a 2-day event, and jumping in like that, you gotta get your mojo
Get in
back.
the zone right there.
And doing the strength test and the spritzer, and it just seeing people's eyes light up, and I actually said, I'm not a salesperson, but I have to tell you, this is going to sound really salesy. This is the best price ever, and you have to get it by the 31st, right? I sold 2 waterfalls that weekend, but I put it out there and I said it, and anyway, I think
How did
just
you feel
jumping
at the
back
end of
in.
that? How did you feel after that?
It was good. I mean, it was amazing. This last, week or 2 weeks of reinstating and connecting and calling, it was like just a war zone in here. I don't know a better word to say. I had things here and that, and don't drop out this, and and now making sure people get their promo 20 code because they went in so late, but
Yeah.
I lost track of the list of the people, and that's always fun. But I don't want to lose track of them. I want to have, like Sherry was saying, a whiteboard or something up so that I can kind of see where I'm at and what's happening. But yes, and to build team or just to connect with people and give the vision of MSIs, right? Multiple sources of income. I think there's a new language out there, and I don't think anybody wants to join us in business, but creating another MSI, those kind of words, I needed to reassess how I spoke. And I just invite people to put some other words out or other things, because it is important for the younger generation to see and to have, I think multiple sources of generation
Keeping it
of income.
relevant in a ever-changing community, isn't it? Just keeping it relevant, because everyone wants it. But I love that. I love what you said, changing the language, because sometimes the language that was used before is just no longer a language that people want to hear. They want to hear different words, and I love that. That's a great thing that I'm glad you shared. Thanks for that, Barbara.
Sure.
Pam?
Yes, I totally agree with what Barbara said. And, different languages. I'll say, when they ask me questions, I don't go into the regular MLM stuff, because especially the younger ones, they already think their parents or somebody was in it, and now this happened, that happened. So, but what I do, it's hard. I have friends, and it bothers me, but I have friends that when they get in a rut, now these are not just sneak-in friends, but they don't return my calls. They don't return a text. And then I know that they're in a rut. So I'll call them, and by getting them uplifted, it uplifts me. And so it's hard sometimes, I'll think, oh gosh, I don't have time right now, but I do a lot of talking in my car, I will admit. And so that's important to do. And then Sherry's videos every Monday night. I mean, those are going out. Most of the people in our What's That team group, already know the connection, but they don't always listen. But I'll send it out and say, oh, wait till you hear about, a bullet point that somebody in that call, in that Zoom made. So I can't thank Sherry enough for doing those short testimonials. And now with the bullets of the product, that's even more important. So appreciate it all, everybody.
I love that. It's just reminding us again, isn't it, of why we're in this business and why we're doing what we're doing. When we share it, we just reminded us to why we're here and what we were doing. Thanks for that. Mike?
Thank you. My mentor used to always teach that if you want to raise your vibration, which is really what we're talking about, getting out of the rut means raising your frequency. He would say, make a goal, make a decision, set a goal, because the second you actually lock in on something that means something to you, that you want to strive towards, your frequency shifts. So it's automatically tied to the commitment to a goal. And obviously, the bigger the goal, the bigger the excitement and so forth. Also, the bigger the challenge that you're going to face, the hurdles you're going to cross, because you're obviously setting up a bigger goal. But something I read my daughter wrote today in her community, she said, if your goal is too small, it won't include anybody else. So you need to have a goal big enough that includes others, because then that becomes a movement. And that creates a community. And shifting people and aligning people's vision with a bigger vision is what keeps the community focused together and moving. And that's kind of what we're doing here, right? The idea of building a community, having a vision that's common and collective, but we don't really articulate it a lot. The most recent goal that's gotten me excited personally is the goal to take Nikan from 50 million to 100 million. I had to knock that around a bit, because at first it was, it's just a goal. But when I started bantering with Dave about this back and forth and finally locked in, I thought, you know what? That's exactly how we always did it. We always set a goal, and then we set another goal, and then we set another goal. And that's what kept us moving. It's when we stopped setting goals, which can happen, by the way, when you sort of achieve the quote unquote pinnacle of success. You get lazy, you get comfortable, you sit back, and now, by definition, you are in a rut. Yeah. And Bob would teach, you're either going up or you're coming down. So there is no stationary. So the idea of being a goal setter and a goal achiever is what makes you a creative human being. It's what gives you energy and vitality from resources that are well outside of you and draw them into you. And I think that's where happiness comes from, is when you feel like you're moving towards something meaningful.
I love that. Thanks, Mike. So just to restate, because I loved what you shared there, we need to change our frequencies, we need to set our goals, and we need to bring other people into that goal, because that's where, with that community, we're able to kind of lift each other and keep each other motivated as well. I love that. We need to set those goals. Thanks, Mike. Sherry?
Yeah, I want to piggyback a little bit of what Mike said, because I think that what I've noticed about myself, and this is both in my business goals and in my personal goals, that if I am being accountable to myself, because we all know what the things are that we know what we want in our lives, right? And there's nothing worse than knowing that and not doing anything about it. And when you can wake up and realize, hey, I did what I said, and Gloria, I'm looking at Gloria, because Gloria and I set a goal to be accountable to each other with weight loss when we were at the HBM retreat this past April. And so, I mean, I had that sensation this morning. I got up and I thought, no, I feel good, it's because I've been a little bit off my game. So it's a great feeling. It's the same thing with the fact that I set the goal about the Richard Brooks and doing at least one new ask. And when I said I was going to be talking about it from that yesterday morning to last night meeting, I thought, ooh, I got to do it too, because this is on me. And so there's nothing like saying, setting. So I think that the way to go is to motivate your team, ask them to do something, and then realize you got to do it yourself. Because I had great results. I called somebody, complete cold call, which I do a lot of, and like a massage therapist. And she was texting me while I was on the stories because I'd sent her a couple of messages. And she texted me, she said, "You want to talk tonight?" And we had a conversation at 9 o'clock last night. It was 8 o'clock her time. And the reason I reached out to St. Louis is, number one, I have a team in St. Louis. And number two, it was an hour earlier and I felt a little bit bad about calling. But it was 6 o'clock and I went, oh, shoot, I'm going to be on with my team in an hour. And I haven't done what I asked them to do, this morning. And so I've already got a great contact from that. So there's something very powerful about doing what you say you want to do and actually taking action of it. And one more thing I just want to say, I just want to piggyback on what and say thank you, Pam, for saying that, because last night when I was posting I go from, the recording on Zoom to turning it into a YouTube channel. And my YouTube channel, I probably should put it out there because there's so many, there's a catalog, there's a library of all these great stories. And I went through and marked them because I didn't have them labeled right. You couldn't tell what the heck we were talking about. So I went through and fixed that months ago. And I was really impressed. I mean, some of them don't have any listens or maybe a few. Some of them have over 100. I'm like, well, darn, it made me sit up and go, people are, using these recordings. We may only have 6 or 10 people on the call, but it makes me feel good that they're out there. It's a great library that we've been doing for a couple of years now of people sharing their stories, which is at the essence of what we want to share. So.
Yeah, that's powerful because it can be rewatched over and over. And like you were just saying, Sherry, I think that, kind of what you're talking about is a bit like cognitive dissonance, where we know what we want to be doing. We believe a certain thing will happen if we do it, but we actually don't get ourselves in a space where it will align with our goals. And there is a great power in being able to overcome that and step out and make it happen. The fifth thing that I want to discuss is personal growth, because we represent the Nikken business, and what we are is what people are going to be attracted to. It's not just about the product or the incentives. It's about who we are. Often is the people who meet us first are going to be attracted to who we are. And so we always need to be having that personal growth. Being an entrepreneur is not always easy. In fact, sometimes it's really difficult. Being in Nikken at times is really difficult. Building the business can be really difficult. So we need to have that perseverance. We need to manage our expectations. And I think most importantly, I was reading something, it was that book, Grit. And it really struck me, when they being able to kind of study and survey people about their successes in life. Grit is the number one thing that shows whether or not they're going to be successful. If they have grit, they're going to be able to achieve the things that they want to achieve. And more so than education, than hard work or anything else, it's grit, which is the ability, I guess, to just keep rolling with the punches. I, as most of you know, I do a lot of DIY. I do share it on social media. And I was on the news this week, local here to Utah, and they asked me, how did I learn how to do what I'm doing? And I tell people all the time, because I made so many mistakes. I made so many mistakes, and I'm totally okay making mistakes. And I've learned that making mistakes is how we learn how to do it better next time. And so people are so afraid to pick up power tools because they don't want to make a mistake. I'm like, no, you have to go in with the idea that you're going to make a mistake, and then you'll totally be fine and you'll be okay with it and pick it back up. And I think that's what grit is about. It's being okay to make mistakes in your learning journey and then learn the better way how to do it. But how have you maintained a personal growth mindset in your businesses? What are some of the things that you do to keep yourself fresh and always moving? We don't want to get into that state of entropy where we're just still, sedentary, and everything just goes to chaos. And let me tell you, I was away. I was away this week for a couple of days, and my house went to chaos when my daughter was looking after the kids. I'm so grateful that she was able to be there, but entropy is very real. If you don't maintain and stay on top of that, it is coming back to bite you in the butt. Pam?
I apologize for saying so much today, but make yourself be with a mastermind group. You don't necessarily have to look for one that's already out there. We call ourselves Together for Good, and there's 6 of us ladies that get together and we pick a book, whether it's on the Kindle or whatever. It might be one that Mike mentions, you mentioned, that we hear, or that we just happen to see in the bookstore and thought this will be really good. Sometimes it's about inner self. Sometimes it's about business. It's a variety. And then we all vote on it. Hey, I like that book. And the one that Jeff did, what to say when you talk to yourself, that one we had already picked up. And then the one right now is by John Maxwell. And even, there's just great information in there. I really hate that I have to put the book down. And I didn't grow up to be a reader. I grew up to be a worker. Mom always had chores for me and not really sitting there to read the book, except schoolwork. So, that's find friends, and just say, hey, let's read this.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love that. Thanks, Pam. Hattie Jane, you want to share something? Oh, you're muted, Hattie Jane.
There it is. I found it. Yeah. As y'all notice, I've got my pink hair. And I started coloring hair back in 18 because I wanted to change. I wanted to be more effective. I wanted to do this and that. And I wasn't doing it. So I changed my hair color then to a different shade because I just wanted to make a change in me that would possibly keep going. And since then, well, you all see me in my bright pink now, and I've got the most compliments on my color that I've ever had. So I'm hanging in there. But the thing is, I also have taken a couple of years of learning how to work on the computer, the things like Microsoft puts out, and I don't do them very well, but I'm learning. And that's what I've been doing, as well as participating in all the Zooms that I can. So that's basically what I've been doing, and I'm looking forward to having it pay off. I'm working with a gal right now that I took some duct tape in, and she likes the results, and I'm so glad she does, and she's going to order some more, and maybe she remembers names, she remembers the people, she remembers the people's history, and she works in a pharmacy. So I'm looking forward to having a partner soon.
I love that. And I think to keep fresh, what you're saying is just doing something different, changing things up. We're always told to make that 100 names list, and we've done that, lots of times. I have started doing, instead of 100 names list, 100 ways list, 100 ways that I can share the business. And I'm probably not going to get to 100, but I'm going to get really good. So whenever I think of a way I can share the business, I write it down. And so far, I've been able to change things up a little bit so that it's different to what I'm used to. It just freshens it up. So I do things like there's different social media sites that I can share it on. There's other people that I can talk to, just different ways in order to share the business, and just make it a little bit more exciting, a little bit more relevant, and a little bit more contemporary, I guess, especially for the younger audience. I'm doing different things on blogging and advertising. Barbara?
Yeah, there's 2 things I wanted to share. And yes, definitely affirmations. But when I was young, I was raised Catholic and Catholic nuns in schools and stuff. And I remember this nun looking at me and saying, I don't wake up a nun. So it's just really made a big impression on me that you really have to create and generate your morning or your intention, either intention going to bed or intention of who you are and how you speak and what you do. And so, yes, I have actually 2 masterminds that I'm in and a part of, but also what you say to yourself, or whether you have notes up or things up. When I was going from Diamond to Royal Diamond, I actually had laminated cards in the shower that I would read, because it just helps the impression that we have. And so anything to help keep us, my other sons did this thing, and above the line, right? not falling below the line, but being above the line and being a better person can always help. So that's it. And soundboard your you know, your affirmations with somebody, because you never know. It's like, oh wait, you know, this is amazing. So there's some really good ones out there, but to really have that and to
I
have
love
the
that. I've just
camaraderie.
written that down. I don't wake up and none. I think that should be a tagline because it's so true, isn't it? They don't. You have to wake up and you have to become that person every single day. You have to remind yourself of who you are, what you're about, and what you want to achieve. Thanks so much, Bob. Sherry, you got your hand up?
Real quick, I wanted to add when you were saying about, I love that 100 ways to do the business. If you use Chat GPT, they will give ideas, ways to, you know, ideas of how to market, organizations to market. You could say, you know, give me some fresh ideas on how to market a water filtration system in my community. I mean, use Chat GPT for some inspiration. It will give you some great ideas.
Great idea.
You can get to 100 with,
Yeah, then you would get
with
to
a little
100.
AI help.
And you could do that. You could totally go, you know, give me 100 ways to do it. And then maybe make it your goal to go through every 100 that they suggest and see how well each one works and see the effectiveness of each one and give it a try. No, I love that. Thanks for sharing. The final thing is building relationships, point number 6. And I love the fact that we've already discussed this in the call today. Some of the people that have made an impact in our lives, some people in the business. And I love the fact that you've also been an impact in other people's lives each individually, as people are talking about the benefits of having this community and what it's been able to do. That has been able to transform you as a person. We all have those mentors that we are able to look up to and learn from and grow from, but we're also mentors to other people that we need to strengthen and support. And I love that it's a two-way street, because Niken as a business, the CEO of Starbucks said this, and I love this. He said, when a reporter asked him about why he sells coffee, he said, we're not a coffee company. We're a people company that happens to sell coffee. And I love that because, you know, Niken, we have our products, we have our compensation plans, but it's all about people at the end of the day. And so we need to be a people-centered company that we're looking out for people, but that we also have these amazing products and an amazing compensation plan. But people first, we build those relationships of trust. We allow people into our lives, and we are sincere in what we want to bring into their lives. So yeah, it's all about building those relationships, and I love that we do that, and we've already spoken about that on the call, so we don't need to go into it. But I'm grateful for the relationships that I've been able to build through you, learning from you. I am always amazed by how much knowledge and experience that you have, and I love the fact that you share it with other people and you're strengthening other people through that process. So thank you so much for being on the call today. It's been wonderful. I've learned a lot, and I hope you have too. And I hope as we go out into our daily activities that we can remember these little prompts of things that we can do to grow our Niken businesses and you know, be profitable in that. So thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, Kim. Great discussion.
Thank